All right, everyone. Huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by, joined once again by Matt on the old telephone due to the pesky Minnesota winter weather that never seems to stop. The phone conversations at this point are the most easy and agreeable way to collaborate and do reviews with Matt. If you weren't aware, be sure to check out his own YouTube channel that he started a few years ago by the name of State of Flux here on YouTube. Probably have a link for it in the description of this video if you want to go and check out his channel. But right now we're here to talk about the Jurassic World trilogy that started with Jurassic World in 2015 and ended with Jurassic World, whatever the hell it's called, last year in 2022. Since we haven't heard from Matt for such a long time on this channel, I figure why don't we just have him say his thoughts on the 2015 release Jurassic World first, and then I'll give my take on it. So, what are your thoughts on Jurassic World?
So my relationship with Jurassic World really starts with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is one of those films that I had very firm um, cinematic experience with. I have vivid memories of seeing that in theaters when it first came out, and it was really the movie that got me to love dinosaurs and stuff like that. Like I'd seen Kong and stuff beforehand, but this was like true dinosaurs. And so I was very excited for the sequels and The Lost World. Well, it's not a great film. It's a film that I've come to appreciate, especially having seen older films like the original Lost World, the silent film, has made me appreciate that one much more. And I have much more reverence for the third movie than anybody else. Those ones are more specific monster movies and not science gone amok movies like that first Jurassic Park, which is a true, genuine piece of science fiction filmmaking. The other two are monster movies, and I really dug them. But I have a lot more reverence for the third one than most people do. Um, that said, I was always excited for that fourth movie that Spielberg had promised, and you'd hear interviews from time to time of the upcoming fourth movie, but they never came to fruition. So when they announced what ended up being Jurassic World, I was one of those situations where it's like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But then the first trailer dropped, and it looked good. It looked really good. So I was really excited. And when I got to the theater and watched it, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed, mostly because it was kind of the film that kickstarted the whole movement of the entirety of 2015, I feel, of giving us a sequel, legacy sequel kind of thing, but having it just essentially be a remake of the first movie. You had that with Jurassic World, which is essentially a remake of Jurassic Park. You had that Ant-Man, which was essentially just a reinterpretation of Iron Man, and then you had it certainly with Force Awakens, which, as we've discussed, was just a new hope. Of the bunch, I would say Jurassic World is the best, but only slightly. The thing that I like about Jurassic World is that it has some great moments to it. For every kind of lame-brained opening scene with the egg and the like little digital claws coming out, you also have the epic score by Giacchino, and whenever you get that twinkling music, it really kind of hits you with that beat of nostalgia that really uh, feels, it gets you to feel. And you have the awesome um, moment with like seeing the when the dinosaurs ruled the earth sign from that old movie, and that was kind of neat to see. But that's kind of hollow filmmaking at the same time. That said, it really came together with the ending. The last like 8 minutes are absolutely asinine stupid. However, there's an 8-year-old in every film goer, and that 8-year-old cheers when the raptor and the T-Rex team up to fight the Indominus Rex. So that was cool. The characters are paper thin, um, and that didn't really work well for me. However, I like both uh, Chris Pratt and especially Bryce Dallas Howard as actors just in general. So at else, you had nice people to look at. Um, and then the last positive that I have for the movie, I thought the movie was going to be good. I was worried with the opening shot with the stupid egg shot and the terrible digital like claw that comes through. Is the worst of the opening shots of any of these movies, including the ones that would come after. That said, I liked the first 25 minutes afterwards, where the movie is playing subtle commentary on blockbusters by having that scene where the what is it, mosasaur, the dinosaur from the sea dinosaur, leaps up out of the water and disassembles and kills the shark from Jaws, saying like this all started with Jaws, and the spectacle needs to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the audience reaction when this dinosaur eats the shark from Jaws is kind of boredom, and that kind of speaks to how blockbuster filmmaking goes. So there was some good ideas in this. That stuff was left largely unexplored so that we could get just the same movie rehashed at us again. I don't think Jurassic World is bad. It's just kind of okay enough, I guess. On par with The Lost World Jurassic Park. I'd give it like a 2.5 or a 3 star.
Oh, okay, interesting. My opinion was at the time, 2015, I'd all but even way back then, I'd pretty much all but almost given up on movies, and especially blockbuster summer movies. And I got to tell you, me and my girlfriend, who I just recently met at the time, like a couple months prior, by the name of Beth. I don't know if you've seen any or heard any of the audio with Beth and I on the channel or not.
I have, yeah.
Okay, that was so you've basically kind of e-met in that way.
Yeah.
You've e-met through the internet in a one way version. But yeah, we saw it like 2 months at the drive-in theater after we met, and I had pretty much no hope for it. And I guess I could say we and or I were just absolutely freaking blown away. And still to this day, I just recently rewatched the three Jurassic Worlds, and still to this day, it is my absolute second favorite Jurassic Park movie. I think Jurassic World is absolutely phenomenal. And what I was really impressed about it by is, there'd been three movies, and we'd never seen a Jurassic Park movie with the park actually open. So that was actually cool to see, even though it was a very much a very side aspect. It wasn't the main aspect or main story of the movie, but I thought they handled it really well, where you got to see the glimpses of the park open, and this and that going on in the digital holograms, and you got to see it through the eyes of the two nephews of the red-headed chick and stuff like that. And
I will say, I also did like that you had an active park, but keep going, yeah.
yeah, so we were blown away, and Michael Giacchino, I know back when we actually did reviews in person, we really liked him, and at the time he was, up and coming like the next John Williams. I want to say he
Yeah.
he did the music for this, and whenever I like his themes he did for his original themes for the film, but whenever obviously they segued into the old 1993 original Jurassic Park themes, and the kid, the younger of the two kids are going through this and that, and the younger one's all going in the like, come on brother, or hurry up or whatever, and the younger one's so excited, and he goes into like their room and opens the door, and the camera just kind of goes out into a CG kind of a shot of the park, and like a helicopter shot, and it's like, I think it's the original music, da, da, da,
Yeah.
da. And I was just like, oh my god. So, and I
Yeah,
really,
that got me too. The emotion, anytime the music came on, and there's also at the end of the movie when the raptor joins the fight, you get a little bit of the raptor theme from the Lost World as well. Like anytime they hit you with that little beat of nostalgia, it worked really well.
so I was actually really surprised, in having revisited the three. Well, actually, I watched all six of the movies recently over the course of the weeks and months and stuff. Winters are long in Minnesota, but Yeah, even, it wasn't just a fluke, like, I just liked it the first time we saw it because it was at a drive-in and or anything like that. Having re-seen it again, having re-seen all six films again, yeah, I still stand by absolutely my second favorite. Obviously, after the first film, for me, the characters work and the main Owen guy is a likable character, and I thought the whole idea of making like training the raptors was a kind of a cool next evolution in a Jurassic Park movie. And obviously, as you're supposed to, Beth and I got all kind of attached to Blue and all this and that and kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And it was cool seeing Vincent D'Onofrio in there as like the bad guy. And there's always a bad guy
yeah.
who's got to
I
get.
always like D'Onofrio. He's always good.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see Vincent D'Onofrio and then those kind of nerd characters. I actually thought of you when there was that one guy who had the original Jurassic Park T-shirt on. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, he was cool.
that's like totally Matt. And I really liked that little joke in there where it's like the redhead chick was kind of upset that, like, where'd you get that? That's you shouldn't be wearing that. I think he said eBay or something like that. And she's like,
Yeah,
that's disrespectful to wear that shirt because it's like, it echoes the massacre or the bad shit that happened at that park that never opened or whatever. But yeah, oh my God, I was really blown away with the original Jurassic World at the time. And I got to agree with you, like the end when when the original T-Rex saves the day. And oh my God, even rewatching it just recently, I thought they did a really good job with Jurassic World.
yeah. I um uh I think those last like 15 minutes when she goes running to get the Rex, and then the Rex comes in and bursts through the Spinosaur bones. With an excellent dig at Jurassic Park 3, which the one huge criticism I have of Jurassic Park 3 is the needless scene where the Spinosaur just murders the T Rex. This was kind of paying that back. And then she takes down the Indominus Rex. That whole scene is it feels like it was written by an 8-year old in the best possible way. It's just pure imagination unleashed, and that is the best 15 minutes of the whole movie, and probably one of the best 15-minute sets of the whole franchise.
Yeah,
I firmly agree with that.
how cool.
However, I was just going to say, you have that movie in your second place of the franchise. I have it in the fifth place of the franchise, so I'm excited to keep digging into this.
Yeah, how epic was those shots, and the music was so awesome towards the end there where the Owen guy's on his bike and the raptors are running with him. I mean, those shots were so those shots and that scene where they're on the I can't even remember what they're on the hunt for or whatever, but maybe they
Yeah,
escaped the oh yeah, they gave the raptors the scent of the escaped Indominus Rex or whatever the hell it is, and they're
yeah,
on the hunt for that. But them shots of him on his motorcycle racing with the trained raptors at night with the music is just freaking amazing. And before we move on to, assuming you want to move on to the next one, I gotta
sure.
ask your opinion. I was a little concerned, kind of like you were at the very beginning. I didn't have as big a problem with the hatching eggs as you did, but what did you think when the bird foot came stomping down and they zoomed in to show a little teeny bird? I was like, oh shit, this. I hope this movie won't suck.
Yeah, that was kind of my reaction to. As I say, the opening of this movie is probably the weakest. However, that scene works like in the theme of Jurassic Park in the sense that they all all these birds came from them, and that was the evolution of the franchise kind of thing, and they were just showing us that,
Oh,
which is
that
going to be a
that
little something new.
you mean Alan Grant's hypothesis that all the dinosaurs just evolved into birds?
Yeah, and it's like that worked for me for what it was. However, that was also the first part of the thing where I was like, uh-oh. That said, I don't think it's by any means a bad movie. It's at the very least okay. And there's a lot to like in there, as I I think I highlighted that I do like several aspects of the movie. Um, it was nice to see for the first time the Dilophosaurus show up again since the first movie. It was only in a projection, but at least it was there. The Dilophosaur was always my favorite of the dinosaurs, and it never showed up after that first movie. Um, so I totally geeked out when that happened for a half a second. Um, and a little nod to John Hammond and stuff like that. There is a lot of good in the movie when it hits the nostalgic beats. My problem with it was at the time I was like, this just feels very similar to the first movie, and there's not a lot new here. And what is new, I'm not necessarily on board with. And then a month, 2 months afterwards, we had Ant-Man come out, and Ant-Man is like a fine movie, but it essentially just Iron Man 1 again. And then 4 months after that was The Force Awakens, which just was A New Hope again. And I was so like that summer, or that this movie kickstarted that whole like notion of the sort of requel, sequel, but also remake thing that I really wasn't necessarily on board with. This is certainly infinitely better than Force Awakens, in my opinion. But I do kind of lump it in with that nostalgia bait legacy sequel stuff. Um, but yeah, but I do like the movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see how one could lump it into that nostalgia bait sequel legacy stuff, but in my opinion, I think Jurassic World or the original, the first Jurassic World is one of the best of those.
yeah, I would also sadly agree that this is one of the better usages of those as well. And maybe someday we can talk about some of the other ones out there because I'm curious about your opinion on a handful of the others. But is this a good time to move on to the second one?
Yeah, I'd say go for the Jurassic World, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Fallen Kingdom. So yes, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. I didn't have high hopes for it. I thought it looked really good. However, like right from the trailer, they're showing like a volcanic eruption that's going to tear down the island, and the whole time I'm like, what did they never really established that this was built on an active volcano? That seems kind of weird and also misguided. I do think in the book they reference that it is an active, or it's not an active volcano, but it is on a volcano, and they're harnessing the volcano's energy to partially power the island. But in the movies, you never got that sense. So when it started to be advertised as the volcano's gonna blow, I was like, this would have been a lot more like impactful if we knew that that was a danger. Um, that said, the previews looked pretty fun and pretty dark. It was giving me a lot of Lost World vibes. And then I saw the movie. This time, the director was not Colin Trevorrow, who did the first one. It was J.A. Boyena, I want to say his name is. He directed a movie I really liked called The Impossible in 2012 about a massive tsunami that wiped out like beachside. And then he also did A Monster Calls, which is quite a good movie, fantasy film. So I was excited with the change of direction because at least he knows how to shoot stuff. And I got to say that the highs when they're there are really high. However, this movie has significantly more lows than I could count. Um, I liked the it was a sudden shift, but I liked the shift of having Bryce Dallas Howard's character kind of mirror John Hammond and going from nationalist to naturalist, or whatever Malcolm's line was in The Lost World. Um, she goes through the same thing. She's trying to. She goes from creating these dinosaurs to suddenly wanting to preserve them and keeping the natural state of the world in check. And so I kind of like that with her character, and that gets explored a little bit in the movie. Um, and I like the horror movie aspect of it. However, this movie has some of the dumbest stuff ever. Like those trained military guys who, like, the dinosaurs are getting sold off. The Indominus raptors in this one, the Indoraptors are getting sold off to the military so they can use them to sort of anonymously target operations, yet they still need a gun with a laser to point at the target for the raptor to attack. If you're still using the gun anyway, why not just use the gun? Like, why are you attacking anybody with a raptor? This is the most convoluted thing. It was just insane to me. Um, that said, it says when the highs are high, they're high. When the volcano blows and they're on the boat looking back, and you see that one sad little or sad big brachiosaur fall into the smoke and stuff like that. It's really genuinely actually sad, and Giacchino's use of score in that scene is so powerful because that is the first dinosaur you ever met, and it's the last one you see on Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. So like that scene worked, and there's other little scenes that work, but then they manufacture a new John Hammond-like character who's the longtime friend of John Hammond that we've never met or heard of before, who clones a child, and the whole cloning child thing was like, oh god, that just turned me off the movie. So yeah, I said that the I would rank Jurassic World in fifth place of the six movies. I rank this one in sixth of the six movies. Where do you land on this one?
Yeah, I might actually have to agree with you on that. This is definitely my least favorite of the Jurassic Worlds, and I'd probably have to agree with you on that. It's probably my least favorite of the six films. You know, we were really excited after how much we loved the original Jurassic World to go see this in the theater. And the first scene I thought was really cool, you know, really atmospheric, a submarine going into that big lake doing, you know, looking for some fossil bones on the bottom of the whatever. And, you know, I don't think that one of the things that I think is a huge Jurassic Park staple because it comes from the first film. And I don't think there was any of like thunder and rain and lightning at night in the first Jurassic World. But I really liked the opening scene that was at night, and you know, it was like a tropical storm, and they were trying to harvest the sub was trying to harvest the bone for the DNA from, I want to say, Indominus Rex or whatever, and that whole scene, and then they get attacked by, I don't know if it's the T-Rex or something like that on the helicopter or whatever.
Yeah, the T-Rex. I think the Mosasaur first, and then the T-Rex next.
Yeah, what the hell? What the hell do I know? A dinosaur's a dinosaur. A dinosaur attacked him, and you know that opening scene. I was like, oh, cool. This is, you know, the sound design was really cool. The cinematography of that scene and just the atmosphere I loved. It felt very Jurassic Park, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we are, or here we go, or you know, hopefully this will be another good one. And yeah, as it wore on, for me it was just like, oh my god. So you know, that what the excitement and the fun of the first Jurassic World, where the park was open, and we didn't really even comment on how fun it was to see something we probably people have probably quietly wanted to see since the first movie came out, where see a Jurassic Park in operation, where the Jurassic or the dinosaurs run amok and actually are attacking the park goers, which is something that happens
Yeah.
in the first Jurassic World, which was fun as well. I mean, fun in a sick way. I mean, we know it's not real, hopefully not real, but that was
No,
something.
I agree.
Yeah, that was something we forgot to talk about with the Jurassic World or the original or whatever. And after what I thought was just so great with the original Jurassic World and the park being open and all this stuff and that. And, oh, another thing we forgot to mention is how cool I thought the little roly spheres were. I thought that was a really cool idea.
That was cool. I really did like that. The gyrosphere, I think they
Yeah, the
called it.
the
I've
gyros.
only seen the all three of them one time. I think I saw Jurassic World a second time. But I've seen the other two only once.
Oh wow, damn! So you're remembering like this movie based on what was it, 2017?
Yeah. I I
Oh,
believe so.
seeing it. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. So he's reviewing it, having seen it the last time in 2017, first and last time. I don't blame you that you never seen it again. But honestly, even though we just rewatched it recently, I mean, I can never really remember what the hell happens with this movie. One thing I always kind of frustratingly called it afterwards was Jurassic Mansion. I hate how the last half is just like the hide and go seek, horror film Jurassic Dinosaur Mansion movie, and like you say, that one character who was a business associate of John Hammond for such a long time that we're just hearing of now, kind of like Snoke in the fourth, not the fourth, the seventh Star Wars film, is just like, okay, this guy's just coming out of nowhere, and I hate how the guy starts being like a positive character and he turns out to be a bad guy, and it's just like that makes you roll your eyes. And
Like to me, it felt like when they were writing the script, they were writing it as if they were writing the scenes for John Hammond, and then they kind of pieced together that the actor is not alive anymore, and they were like, "Well, should we recast?" And then at the last second, they're like, "No, let's not recast. Let's just make him a business partner." But if you do that, why the hell didn't they just make that character Dodson from the first movie? Dodson is the rival in like the rival company man who's trying to get a hold of what Hammond did. Why not just have that guy be Dodson and find out that after Jurassic Park they'd created like an amicable scenario where they were sort of like business partners or something like that. You could have manufactured a story to actually make it somewhat resonant to the audience. Instead, this guy that you've never heard of before, like that just is weird.
yeah, that's a very good point and a very good idea. Very much with like also forgot to mention that one Asian guy from the first film makes a return in
Yeah,
Jurassic.
Dr. Wu.
Doctor Wu is back. I can't remember if he's in all three. I think he's in all three of
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
And
he's in all three of them.
yeah, very much with like the return of Doctor Wu for the first time since the first film in the original Jurassic World, I want to say, and he's in all three of the worlds, I think. It would have been cool to have had that guy. You mean the guy from the first film who looks like a secret agent?
Yeah, like because in the book, uh, like the first Jurassic Park book, uh, Dodson is the guy that hires or that Nedry reaches out to, saying like, "Hey, I have access to this stuff. I can get you what you need because Hammond's not giving me what I want. If you get me what I want, I can get you what you need." And that's why Dodson and Nedry team up to like basically take down Jurassic Park. And then the chaos theory goes into effect. And there are elements that they couldn't control, even though Nedry thought he was in control. That was the whole kind of point. Dodson shows up as like the main villain of the Lost World book, and he's a very like important presence in the whole book lore. And I thought it was weird that he was never explored again after that first movie. You'd think if he wanted the dinosaur stuff, he'd still be trying to get it. And when this movie kind of explores that, because Hammond's whole fear with giving anything to Dodson was that Dodson would use it for duplicitous means. And in the book, Henry Wu is like, look, these aren't even real dinosaurs. We have to splice them with bird DNA and frog DNA and fish DNA to make them what they are. I can take their viciousness out of them. And Hammond was like, no, I want to preserve these dinosaurs. And he's like, but these aren't dinosaurs. These are theme park attractions that we're calling dinosaurs. That's Henry's character. And they bring that scene in the book into Jurassic World. And it was actually my favorite like dialogue scene in Jurassic World, is that scene with Henry Wu kind of giving him motivation. Spoiler alert, in the book, Henry Wu gets eviscerated by a velociraptor, just absolutely gutted midway through the book. So he doesn't survive. But having him kind of be a villain, and you could see him, like, if I were writing this story, I would have had us find out that Henry Wu was working with Dodson and then you could have told this whole mansion story if you want, and do it a little more organically and give us maybe flashbacks to what Wu was up to in the past with Dodson or something like that. But instead, they manufactured this other old guy that, for all intents and purposes, Hammond 2.0, and it's just kind of weird. The other thing is you mentioned that like the mansion stuff is just like kind of disappointing. This whole movie is kind of a reflection of the Lost World, in as much as Jurassic World is Jurassic Park, just kind of flipped into a modern day. This is much like Jurassic World, or the Lost World. However, the one aspect with the Lost World is if you're going to bring a dinosaur to the mainland, have mayhem, have the mainland mayhem just be extreme. And Spielberg gave us a pseudo Godzilla movie for 20 minutes. In this, it all takes place in a house, and then we get like a couple of shots right at the very end of a true Jurassic World. But that I was just like, why go through all the effort just to make it a haunted house story at the end?
Yeah, exactly. I think I can remember having that thought too when we recently rewatched it. Like, admittedly, Jurassic World is a kind of a remake, except for the park is open of the first film, and then this one, I want to say the bad guys, yeah, the bad guys are catching dinosaurs just like Lost World, and and selling them off and auctioning them off, just like in a way Jurassic, or I mean Lost World. So yeah, I remember that as well. I can't remember for the life of me. I can't even remember the middle of this movie. I can't even remember like why they why. So I'm asking the guy who's just seen it once. The last time he did it was 17 years ago, and I just saw it months ago. And I'm asking you what the hell's going on. But yeah, I can't even remember what happens in the middle. Like, why do they go to the island? They got to do what? They got to save like Blue and or the save some
So
dinosaurs before it blows
uh,
up.
she has decided to become a naturalist, and so she wants to go to the island, if memory serves, to sort of save and preserve their life, and try to rescue them as much as she can. However, there's another team that shows up there, much like in the Lost World. There's another team that
Yeah.
shows up that plans on capturing these dinosaurs for resale value, rather than to put them onto another island. Presumably, it would have been like Site B or whatever, to let them flourish on their own in an organic way, separate from anything else. And that's what she's trying to do, and that's how she reteams with Owen, trying to get him to come back because she needs his help. He's good at taming these dinosaurs, and she lures him back with the prospect of saving Blue because this volcano is going to blow, and if it does, Blue dies too. And you see some flashback video of baby Blue, which is really cute. But yeah, if memory serves, that's how this movie went out. You're right. I have not seen this since July of 2017 or whatever.
Yeah, it's
So
it's funny as you're mentioning the plot points of this movie. A little bit of that reminds me of Jurassic Park 3 and how they got Alan Grant on the island too. Like, I can write all kinds of numbers on this check.
yeah, totally. I can't wait to talk about the Jurassic World 3 and my thoughts on Alan Grant. But did you have anything else you wanted to touch on with uh, Fallen Kingdom?
I don't think so. In closing, yeah, compared to the first Jurassic World, for me, it was a huge letdown, and I wasn't a big fan of the clone girl and the Jurassic Dino Mansion scenes, and yeah, I guess I pretty much said my piece on this film. Probably have to agree with probably my least favorite of the six as well.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to Jurassic World Dominion. Dominion, I was excited about just because they had announced that they were bringing back the original three. We didn't talk about the fact that all the advertising had Jeff Goldblum back in the second movie, and you watch the movie, and he's literally in the first 3 minutes of the movie and the last minute of the movie, and that's it. He's just the bookends of the film, which was a big letdown. But they promised us in the announcement that they were bringing back Sattler and Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm for prolonged runtime of this movie. They were going to share top billing, and so I was like, okay, that's kind of exciting. This will be like the first organic sequel, and I'm curious how they'll rope them all in to the storyline. So I got excited, and the preview was fantastic. I was like really genuinely impressed. It didn't look like they were giving us any manufactured dinosaurs anymore. They were giving us all true real life dinosaurs, not any Indoraptors or Indorexes anymore. This was like real dinosaurs, some of which we've never seen in a movie before, and bringing back like Dilophosaurus and things like that. I was pumped. And then the reviews came out, and it was reviewed absolutely terrible. And I didn't. I had taken a bit of sabbatical from work because my newborn had been born, and so I took the entire month of June off. So I did not end up going to see this movie when it came out right away, like I normally do. I saw it about a month afterwards. I saw this movie in July, and so everybody had been like, "Oh, dude, what a waste of time." So maybe it was like the weight of expectation no longer on the film. I went in and I was super impressed with it. I still think it's like a B movie, like give it 3 stars, but it is tied with Jurassic Park 3 as being my second favorite of the entire Jurassic like 6 film set. I go back and forth as to whether I like this one better or that one. But what I like about it is, much like that first movie, the first movie is a true science fiction film in the sense that it is a movie about science gone amok and the dangers that science can present to man. It's not unlike Frankenstein or any number of other sci-fi films that are genuine science fiction. The sequels to Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park 3 especially, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, are all monster movies, first and foremost. You have your monster, in this case, real-life monsters of dinosaurs that are just picking people off left and right. This movie is about the dangers of meddling with cloning technology. Like if we start meddling with these insects or whatever, the insects could take over the world and not allow crops to grow properly, and we can create a national hunger that will decimate our planet, and that's how we can get wiped off from it. And so I liked the science gone amok aspect of this movie. It's the first one that felt like a genuine sequel to the first Jurassic Park movie in a scientific sense. That said, most of the writing in this film is pretty dumb, but at least they tried on that respect. I liked that. When it does get into monster movie mayhem, the stuff is good. Like, we got lots of scenes where dinosaurs are attacking in cities, in jungles, in places where people are at. The first 20 minutes of this movie are genuinely fantastic. I could have actually just watched a whole movie based around that, seeing like cherry picking around the world and seeing how dinosaurs are roaming with the horses, running free and wild, and just seeing these little glimpses of how our world has genuinely turned into a Jurassic World once more. Like, all that stuff is done really well with sort of the wraparound news footage of like people talking about the cohabitation with dinosaurs. Like, that was interesting to me. And then you got the legacy characters coming back. There's a lot more Ellie Sattler, and she's always good in that first movie and shamefully underused in the third movie. She gets quite a bit of screen time, and she's great in the movie. How she ropes Alan Grant into it is pretty fantastic. So I like the consistency of her character. She seems very much like her character from the first movie, just with time having passed. Alan Grant, his whole thing is consistent in the sense that he wanted to go to Jurassic Park and it was a horrible experience for him. He never wanted to go to Site B because he didn't know about it. He didn't want to be their tour guide in the third movie, but he just was, and then had to exist there. And this whole movie too, he seems entirely indifferent and just clearly he does not want to be there, which was very consistent from the third movie. That had me giggling the entire time. The use of Ian Malcolm in this is pretty disappointing, and I will say that I teased this in the beginning that Ian Malcolm is the best character in the first movie. I think that's kind of inarguable. Everybody would point to Jeff Goldblum being the highlight of the first movie. The Lost World, he's made the main character, but he doesn't feel like the same character. It seems like Jeff Goldblum is playing an entirely different person. He's no longer tackling things from an intellectual lens like he was in the first movie. He just seems like a terrified man. We need to get off survival. And maybe like trauma did that to him to some extent, but it just didn't feel like a natural progression of that character. And in this movie as well, he just doesn't seem like the same character from either of those other two performances. It's just like Jeff Goldblum's just playing a new character each time he comes back to play Dr. Malcolm. So I didn't really like his use in this film. And then they rope in Owen Grady, who they had nothing for Chris Pratt to do. Like, he just had to stand there for a lot with his arm out, and that was pretty much all he ever did in this movie. So he was kind of a waste. I like what they did with Bryce Dallas Howard. I think her character's name is Claire. I like her progression. She got more screen time as well. And of the two characters, she's the only one that had any real character development from movie 1 to 2, and they moved that on with number 3, so it didn't bother me that she sort of took center focus for a while. So again, the clone girl thing was toned down quite a bit. Like, they landed some payoff with that, but not much, and I guess I was fine with that because it was such a stupid subplot to begin with. My other big problem with the movie is the villainous turn of Dodson is the villain of this movie. Like I said, he should have been in the second one, and at no point do they give it to the audience that this guy is the same character that was the mastermind of behind Nedry's like attack on Jurassic Park. Like, there's a scene where you'd think he would have his heel turn, where he's like, I'm the reason that Jurassic Park went down, to Malcolm, Sattler, and Grant when they're all in the same room, but he never has that moment. So he was just kind of a weak sauce villain. And then they redeem Henry Wu, which it seemed a little out of nowhere because he was definitely the villain of the previous two movies. But I liked it for what it was. It was dumb nonsense, but I was fine with the science aspect of it, and I liked when we got the dinosaurs. I know a lot of people say there wasn't enough of it, but I'd give it like a solid 3 stars. This is definitely good. None of them are a masterpiece outside of that first movie, and by and large, most of the sequels are good enough, I guess, and that's kind of where I land with this. How about you?
Yeah, have you seen the longer version?
I have not. No. Did they tackle that in the longer version?
Tackle what?
Like the Dodson character?
Not that I'm aware of, and honestly, I didn't even know it was the same character. Obviously, a different guy playing him.
Yeah, different guy.
Damn, I didn't even all I see when I see that guy is Tim Cook. So I didn't think, I guess I wasn't listening to the name, but I just see an evil Tim Cook when I watch this movie. But yeah, you gotta check out the extended version, because at the beginning there's a really cool scene that goes on for, I don't know, it seems like a while, but it's really not that long, maybe I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes where it's just like they just show it's like almost 2001 where you just see dinosaurs grazing and doing this and that, and you're kind of like, what's going on here? And you just see dinosaurs in what looks like possibly the natural habitat, and because the dinosaurs were escaped at the end of the previous film, we just figured that this is modern day, but it goes on to show some battle between like a T-Rex and some other dinosaur, and the other dinosaur kills the T-Rex. The T-Rex hits the ground, and then we follow this mosquito, kind of like the feather on Forrest Gump, go over to the T-Rex and start to suck on its blood. And it's at that point then any viewer paying attention is kind of goes, oh, wait a second, this is probably, and sure enough, it cuts to present day, and it's really cool because this really cool music comes up, and it says 65 million years later, and
Oh, that's pretty baller. Yeah, I like it.
yeah, and then it goes into some night scene where this helicopter is chasing a T-Rex that's terrorizing a drive-in movie theater. So
Oh, that's where the movie did. So, like in several of the previews, that you saw the T Rex bursting through a theater screen, and I thought they just kind of made that up for like trailer purposes. But that was actually a scene that was designed for the movie.
yeah, it was a very quick scene at the beginning of the movie where a T-Rex is terrorizing the drive-in movies theater.
Interesting. Why the
So
hell did they cut that? That seems like it's important, especially since you're led to believe that the T Rex is going to die. It would make sense to see the birth of the T Rex with the of that specific T Rex with the mosquito and whatnot sucking from that one T Rex that you presume is the clone that we would eventually get to know. And then when it looks like the T Rex is dying at the end of the movie, it would have been more like emotionally resonant.
yeah, I'm assuming it was just a running time thing because the extended version is like, God, I want to say it's 2 hours and 30 or 40 minutes long.
That's
So
it. Yeah.
I'm assuming they just cut that for the theater. But yeah, you got to really check that out. It's really fun to see that different beginning, and then after that, it goes into the news clips beginning that you're familiar with. And I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the film enough to know if there's any more bits and pieces throughout the movie, or if it's just mainly the beginning that's in the extended version. But yeah, my thoughts on it is it's initially when we saw it, I thought it was the worst of the three. But then after revisiting recently the middle one, I contend that that's the worst of the three. I just felt like this thing was too bloated. It reminded me of Batman Returns in 1992, where they were just
Yeah, I can feel that.
trying to deal with way too many characters, and like you say, they just felt like for another. I don't know if this is supposed to be the last film as far as I know, or Jurassic.
Yeah.
I would imagine they'll do offshoots, kind of like Hobbs and Shaw with the Fast and Furious series. I can't imagine
Yeah.
it's like gonna just be the last one of all time, but maybe the last one of the main characters from the first six films or whatever. But I did like the idea that you're gonna bring back obviously the Jurassic World characters, and then you're not only gonna bring them back, but then the Jurassic Park characters, because like you say, we didn't touch on it when we talked about the second film. But yeah, Jeff Goldblum was in the trailer, and like, oh cool, Jeff Goldblum's gonna be back, and he's there for a couple minutes of his thoughts about the whole thing, and that's it. And yeah, I just think this thing's like all over the place, and I agree with you. Like, I think the first half, or the first, now in the longer cut, the first 40 minutes or so are really good, where we're reconnecting with the characters, the Owen and the Claire and the older clone daughter and stuff, and his cabin's built, and he's catching a dinosaur at the beginning, and they've got these other bad
Yeah.
guys, of course. And I like the pace of the beginning, and then that one scene where once again Michael Giacchino's beautiful sorrow music, when the girl takes her bike to that one place where there's like one of those big long veggie sauruses that's in the snow, and she figures out how to get it out of there, and they have a flare and they get it out of there, and then it does that call, and the other one comes out of the snow, and like, I don't know if it's a baby or what the other one is, but the scene
Yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Totally.
Yeah, the music, the music's just so beautiful in that scene. So I like the way the movie reintroduces the main characters from the previous world films, and But then like midway through or whatever, when it starts to just go James Bond, like I called the other one, Jurassic Mansion. This one's like Jurassic Bond, where it's like
Yeah, for real.
you've got giant dinosaurs chase. It's either that or Mission Impossible meets James Bond meets Jurassic World, where you've got raptors chasing people on, chasing the guy in a motorcycle through like these European streets or whatever, and it just got so goofy. And then there's that one scene where I do agree where it was like it would have been cool to just see a movie about different countries, different places, and how life is now with these dinosaurs integrated into the world. I thought it was that one scene where it was like this black market dinosaur selling
Yeah,
part, and they have like little instead of hen fights or rooster fights, it's dinosaur fights and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and then the evil woman with the whatever blonde hair,
yeah,
whatever the hell she was, she's all this bad guy. And like you say, with the you laser point the victim you want, and the raptors will go kill him. And it just felt like, and like you say, uh just way too many characters to deal with. And oh my God. And just, yeah, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say the one thing that like yeah, there's a bunch of characters in these movies. The movies, all of them to some extent, outside of the first two, really are kind of toothless in the sense that like you have all these characters, but you know right from the beginning who's fodder and who is going to survive to the end. Like there's never a moment of doubt. This one, I guess, cast a little bit of doubt that maybe they were going to kill Bryce Dallas Howard or like Jeff Goldblum for a split second, but it was only that, just for a fleeting second. And like none of the characters died. Like nobody died in this. Everybody was like the main character of their own action adventure in this movie, and probably you probably nailed it. It's probably to set up like if they want to make a Jurassic World like South America or something. You like travel with Chris Pratt down in South America as they encounter like the South American dinosaur cohabitation and stuff like that. That's probably why every single character survived, including like Henry Wu, who they saved, and like there's the pilot that is running with Chris Pratt through like half the movie, and I was like, well, clearly she's there so that she can be the one character that dies, and she doesn't even die. And I was like, okay, well, how about that?
Yeah, I can totally see them doing an offshoot with like her as one of the main characters, and maybe even the clone girl or something like that. Maybe with a like a scene with Chris Pratt and Claire just showing up for one scene, maybe a Skype call or a FaceTime call or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think for
Well, that
anyone,
was the one thing I was waiting for too. Is I was like, they got everybody back except for Lex and Tim. I was like, surely they're gonna give us Lex and Tim, and those characters never showed up. Like, why wasn't the pilot like Tim or Lex or something like that, just to give us it? Like, even if they didn't want to get the same actor again, they could have recast it. Like, whatever.
that's that's a that's
That
a
just felt weird.
That's a really good point. I honestly I completely forgot about them and their absence in the movie. I mean, that would have been a perfect opportunity to have them show up, even if it was just for one time, like in Lost World.
Yeah. Like I don't see why they couldn't have been like on a newscast or something talking about their experience with Jurassic Park 30 years later or something like that. And then people being like, "How do you feel about them being in our world now?" And then they could have said a little something, and that would have been it. And that's all we would have needed. It would have been like those little that little montage in Batman versus Superman where you're seeing all those people from around the world asking like, "What do you think about Superman?" Like they could have done that here, and they kind of do that, but they could have done it with like characters we knew. You could have even gotten Vince Vaughn back because he didn't die either, just for like one scene, and be like, "Look, I'm a photographer. I love this," or something like that. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
75% female Greenpeace or whatever the hell he says.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm not too sure I have much more to say about this one. More or less a disappointment that it just seemed to go on and on and on and on. Honestly, the more I watch it, the less hard I am on it. But still, like when those scenes are coming up where, the dinosaur black market, and here comes the, Mission Impossible,
Yeah,
James Bond chase scene with the motorcycle through the narrow city streets and stuff. I kind of just roll my eyes. So, but one thing I like is like the beginning. I like the beginning part of it, and then I like the end when it gets onto the island. And I think as a visual, and for the visually, like when all those when they try to burn all those whatever, those big freaking whatever they are, what are they, those
the
insects?
locusts or
Yeah, when
whatever.
they try to burn them and they escape and set the place on fire at night, that was a really visually stunning imagery, and was really a cool way to end it, I thought.
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, like my summation of this new Jurassic Park is kind of the same I've had since really The Lost World, which is like it's cool that we get to see dinosaurs on screen again. I'm never gonna be like balking at that, but uh, the amount of effort put into these movies versus like the anticipation of them is never like equal. They seem, as I say, like they don't want to sacrifice any characters or create any real stakes. They uh, like they're fine enough entertainment, but they don't necessarily want to say anything about the world or anything. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is why that first movie is so good isn't because of the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are in 20 minutes of that 2 hour and 7 minute runtime. You like it because you like the characters and they're actually saying something and making you, whether you realize it or not, think about our world in a different way. And maybe like consumerism or entertainment and how we value that and maybe misplace our value in that when we could be spending time with family or creating family or whatever. Um, like that's what makes that first one so magical. And it doesn't hurt that it has incredibly powerful set pieces of monster mayhem that amplifies how much you care about those characters. And the sequels don't really have that. Each movie has an amazing set piece. I don't think any action set piece has ever surpassed the trailer scene from the Lost World. That is the most nail biting scene, but you don't necessarily care about anything that happens in that scene. It's just like a nail biter, and that's the last time you actually get any stakes as well. That's where the guy who goes to rescue them gets eaten by the two T Rexes. Um, but yeah, like all of them have good action, and these movies do too. All of them have like fun moments, and all of them have stuff where it's like you could probably do better, or another pass at the screenplay or whatever. But yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not completely clear on your ranking of the three Jurassic Worlds. Like, what's your favorite of the three?
So so like for the entire franchise, I go Jurassic Park, then I go Jurassic World Dominion, then Jurassic Park 3, then I'd go Lost World, then Jurassic World, and then Fallen Kingdom is the only one of the bunch that I think is actually not a good movie.
Oh, okay. So, needless to say, this film is your favorite of the Jurassic Worlds. Okay.
Yeah, but I'd give it the same amount of stars. I'd give this one a firm 3 stars, where I'd give like Jurassic World either 2.5 or 3 stars. Probably 3 stars because of the ending, but like it's worth seeing. But like 2.5 isn't bad. It's like 2.5 is passable in my ranking system. So the only one that I'd give a negative review to is Fallen Kingdom, which I'd give 2 stars. So even that one, well, not good, isn't like straight awful.
Yeah, that's
So
that's very true. And in closing with this film, one thing I wanted to say is the ending, where it's kind of like the like, okay, here we go. Like we've got some goofy like Edward Scissorhands dinosaur in this one that's
yeah,
that's like the bad dinosaur, I thought the last little bit there was supposed to be like the T-Rex versus the evil dinosaur in this one. I thought the final battle between those two was not very amazing at all. Anything compared to the final battle in the first Jurassic World, in my opinion, was like, oh, that's it. Oh, okay.
That felt like a studio note to me. Like I feel like the ending of this movie was the combustion of the locusts and the destruction of the island or whatever, and that was how they had it end. And then they were like, no, 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 we need one last scene and do what you did again with Jurassic World. And he's like, all right. So he just did the same scene again, except, yeah, you're right. He's fighting like this Freddy Krueger dinosaur. I don't know why that wasn't the Spinosaur or the Gigantosaur or something, and then just like at least give us something that we were familiar with up until that point. That was the first time we saw that dinosaur, so it meant nothing when we saw it battle. And like that scene is it's fine, but it's so unnecessary. The movie already ended, and that's just like an extra ending and to give us like one last bit of spectacle. But it's also dark, and you can't really see what's going on, so it's kind of lazy spectacle.
Absolutely. The one thing I thought that was okay about that scene was when the T-Rex passes in front of that circular waterfall thing, and then you kind of get the little bit of that,
Yeah, that was cool.
the logo. But I think you're right. It was probably just like a studio saying, well, we need to do this because it's what people expect.
Yeah, you got to end on an action high, and the scene that you ended on was like a character high. That's not how you end these movies, and it's like, I mean, I guess, but like, I don't know. The movie already seemed over, and then that happened.
Yep,
But yeah, whatever. Yeah, so
absolutely.
they're fine enough, I guess. I don't have any problems with them. I'm not itching to rewatch any of them, but at a certain point, my daughter's going to want to watch them, and I'll show them to her. She's seen the first two movies, I think. Uh, she might have seen the third one too. She really liked the first one, and the second one was just kind of really like long for her. Um, so she wasn't like itching to watch the sequel after that. I can't remember if we showed her the third one, but yeah. So anyway, that's that.
It seems like those would be pretty scary for a young daughter.
She's surprisingly okay with that. She gets scared of weird random things, so it's like that scared you. But yeah, she had no problem with Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. She gets scared when we show her Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This is I guess a little sidebar story. She I work at a movie theater, so she's exposed to posters all the time, and she saw um, the in summer of 2019, Toy Story 4 was coming out, and I was like, "We'll take you to see that." And I don't know if you remember, but that's the same day that Child's Play also came out, and she just kept seeing all these posters of Chucky and just became obsessed with the idea of Chucky. And so when we took her to go to the theater, opening night of Toy Story, and we're like, we're going to go see the toy movie, she was like, yeah. And she was heartbroken when she found out we did not take her to Child's Play and that we took her to Toy Story 4. And she hated the movie. And she just was so pissed. And like, at the time, she was like 4 years old. And it's like, that's wild. But uh, yeah, so I'll always know the Child's Play and Toy Story 4 came out on the same day because of that. Uh, but yeah,
That's
she likes movie monsters, I guess.
that's exciting. Makes you wonder if she's gonna be a horror film buff.
Hopefully, I plan to create a list for her to watch when she's old enough. She's 7 now, in like 3 4 years, I probably can start busting out some of the tamer ones.
Well,
That said, I used to watch them when I was already her age, so.
that's true. I imagine as a parent, you don't know necessarily. I guess you just base the age to show them based on when you first saw them, or is that how you do it?
That's how I would do it. My wife isn't necessarily in alignment with that because she was exposed to the same horror movies at the same time, and some of them like traumatized her to some extent. So she's a little more uh, conservative of when we show these movies. And she's like, "Well, those are 17 for a reason." And it's like, maybe like 13. But yeah. So anyway.